Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hold the Mayo. Today's episode is brought to you by gossip. You know, it's actually anti-gossip because nothing is more devastating than when people start spreading awful rumors. And I had to take a moment to talk about a rumor that's going around. No, they're not naming a street after me. I know that the rumor is that I'm so awesome that they're wanting to name a road after me, but that's not going to happen because the truth is, if they ever named a road after me, it would stop traffic because let's face it, no one crosses Jason. Hey everybody, we are back once again. I have been looking forward to doing a Bible study with you. And one thing, if you haven't watched on Wednesday nights, it's on Facebook. It's actually on YouTube as well. On Wednesday nights, the Perry First Assembly of God YouTube channel, me and Pastor and a couple of other people have been going through the book of Nehemiah. And we just finished it. Last night was the conclusion of our journey through Nehemiah. I don't want to give any spoilers out as far as the next book, but I am very excited about the next book we're going to go through. But I have absolutely been enjoying these conversations I've been having with Pastor and with others going through the book of Nehemiah. And I would love to go through a book with you. And one of the reasons why I love it is because, we have different viewpoints on stuff, I come from a male viewpoint and she comes from a female viewpoint. And not only that, we've come through we're from two different backgrounds. Anyways, I want to start a journey through a book, but some major things have just kind of gone crazy in our country, in our world this past week. And I kind of felt like, we need to stop and just take a moment and really talk about what's going on. And the biggest controversy going on right now is that movie that came out on Netflix called CUTIES. And let me tell you, parents, do not let your kids watch it. Kids, do not watch it. I know rebellion might set in right now, like I'm going to watch this and so I can say whether or not. No, don't do it. I have not watched. I'm going to put a disclaimer right here. I have not watched the movie. Okay, I've listened to a lot of people who've reviewed the movie, so I've kind of got an understanding of it, and I'm not even going through full detail simply because I haven't watched it, and I'm just not going to. But for those of you who don't know, the movie Cuties is about these girls, these like 11-year-old girls, preteen girls, who like join a dance group and through watching things on social media have developed this over sexualized dance routine. And they really are just kind of selling their bodies. And these are 11-year-old girls.
Yeah.
And and you're like, well, maybe you're thinking, well, what's the deal? Well, I could go so far as say this is child pornography, and it is. Mm-hmm. It is. In every sense of the word. It's not as extreme of having, actual sex in it, but let's face it, anytime you put a preteen, especially preteen, any underage girl in a position where they are shaking body parts and exposing themselves is pornography.
Yeah.
And it's something that we should not be celebrating and something we should not be promoting. And you've probably heard a lot about it. I want to share my viewpoint. Do you want to share yours and kind of what you thought, what your take on all this is?
You go first.
I go first. Okay. This is my viewpoint on it. And I told her this, I've told Pastor this, and this is something that I want to talk about. My viewpoint in this is that in 10 years from now, this movie will be celebrated. It will be. And you're like, well, Jason, why are you saying that? Because there are movies, there are TV shows that are on right now that 10, 15, 20 years ago would have shocked us. As a matter of fact, see, the reason why I think about this is because the same time that movie comes out, a little kids show comes out called Julie and the Phantoms. And Julie and the Phantoms is about these 3 boys who they die from food poisoning. Just kind of show the silliness of it. They didn't die from a tragic accident, nothing gross. It was just basically they ate hot dogs out of the trunk of a car and died. And they pop up 25 years later. Well, one of the boys in the group is gay. And you're thinking, well, Jason, you're turning this into a homosexual talk. Just bear with me here. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, okay? But these are connected, okay? And we're watching it, and I hear they're talking about this one of the boys being gay, and immediately I look at Jackson. I'm like, Jackson, I'm not sure we should watch this. And then another boy shows up in the show, and he's the love interest to the other boy. And I immediately told Jackson, we can't watch this. And here's the thing. A lot of you are going like, well, Jason, what's the big deal? And you need to stop and think about that. 10 years from now, when there's a show in which underage girls is being seduced and being loved by an adult person, and you hear pastors, you hear people going like, that's not good, you're going to hear people say, what's the big deal? As a matter of fact, over in California, they just passed a law basically saying that that grown adults can have, can be sexually active with underage kids within 10 years, as long as they're willing. And someone put it this way, if they're underage, they're never willing.
And the thing is with the CUTIES thing is that, and with the other TV show, is that it's targeting children. Both are targeting children. Whether one's sexualization and one's homosexuality, that was the whole point. Yes, I know that every single show on mainstream, on ABC, NBC, CBS, I know that there's, gay characters. That's not what I'm talking about. What we're saying is that this show was geared for kids. And honestly, my thought process is they're too young to process what that means and to really understand. We shouldn't be pushing all of these things onto children. These are not thoughts and things that kids should have to deal with. So it's not like we don't know that homosexuality is rampant. It's not that we don't understand that it's in every show. That's not the point. The point is it was clearly on a show that was for kids. That was geared for kids to watch. So I just wanted to kind of help them understand that. Yeah.
And that's the thing. In order for these new abnormal behaviors, and they're unnatural behaviors. There's the unnatural sexual deviancies because they go against nature. Nature is about procreation. Nature is about life. Anything that doesn't produce life is unnatural. Okay, even death is natural because through death, if I die and they put me in the ground, guess what happens? My body rots, becomes food for the soil that grows grass. So even death is natural. But any behavior that that life cannot be produced out of it is something unnatural. And we're seeing it. We've seen it with the homosexual lifestyle. We're seeing it with the transgender lifestyle, and you're going to see it more and more because, like I said, they're passing laws out in California. This movie is a litmus test. That's what it is. They're basically putting their feelers out, saying how ready is the world to receive this new behavior. Mm-hmm. Luckily, we're kind of in a position now where we are not ready for that. I think people across the board, whether you're Christian or not, are going no. But it will get there. And I wish I could give you an answer. Like, how do we stop that? I don't know. The reality is, and here's something too, that I'm going to talk about more in just a little bit, but we do want to take a quick break and ask this girl, who's that girl?
Hi, guys, and welcome back to another segment of Who's That Girl? So, I don't know if you guys know this. Well, you probably do because I've mentioned it a few times, but my husband has this huge book, like 3,000 questions. And each week, I just randomly pick a number. And so I never know what it's going to be. So, guess what? The number I picked today literally is so fitting for what's going on right now. What is the most despicable thing about politics? Hello, we are in a election year. We are about to vote on a president in November. I mean, crazy how that question is the one I picked. To me, there's so many different things that are despicable about politics. One of them is being the the lengths that people will go to win, to put others down. They'll lie, they'll dig up dirt, they'll make up stuff. Like, I cannot, that is terrible. I mean, you're pulling up people's past. Guys, we can change. If we didn't change, we would have no need for a savior. Hello. Like, we are not stuck to be our past selves. Okay? No matter what we may think of the people running, they had a past and it wasn't perfect. Our past is not perfect. But God, with God, I mean, we can change. And this is not talking about one particular candidate. This is just saying in general. I don't know if you've realized it, but across the board, I'm talking people running for Senate or mayor or governor, not just president. They'll like find out that, 10 years ago, someone made a racial slur, and so, let's disqualify them. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible that we're not allowed to make mistakes anymore. It's like if any of our mistakes get caught on social media, especially, or somebody can dig it up and use it against us, it's like, we're no longer allowed to be human. Okay, we're not going to be perfect, and so just the dirt digging and digging up all this dirt on people and the lies that politicians tell just to get voted in, only to not keep their promises when they get voted in. That's happened before. Um, just just everything associated with politics is just terrible. It's awful. And unfortunately, we have to have a president of the United States, and this is not going against ours right now or past or anything like that. It just, in general, I'm just saying, unfortunately, we have to deal with politics because we have to have someone to run our country and, people to make decisions and keep things together. So it's just unfortunate that because of that, that we have to deal with everything that comes along. So, guys, um, just a little word of advice, especially if you're voting age. I would encourage you to, read about your candidates and what they believe and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately also pray. Pray for direction. Just pray that God will direct you and who to vote for, and leave it at that. I mean, I try not to dive too much into politics, and I just, I vote based on what I know, and leave the rest up to God, and don't stress about it, because politics, it divides people, guys. That's another thing that's despicable, is the division. It will cause so much division. Over the past 4 years, Donald Trump has been our president, and whether you agree with him being president or not, I hope you can agree that the way that people have reacted is awful. It has caused so much division. We're not always going to like the person that's in charge. Okay? We don't always like our bosses. We don't always like our teachers, but we have to respect authority, and people do not respect. They have no respect anymore. So, guys, I'm like my husband about his sermon this time. I could go on and on and on and preach about politics, guys, but that is my 2 cents. But on a lighter note, that's it for today. Peace.
And we're back. So the question, of course, is what does the Bible say about this? And in the book of Romans, chapter 1, it says that God abandoned them to do whatever shameful things their hearts desired. And as a result, they did vile and degrading things with each other's bodies. They traded the truth about God for a lie. And they worshiped and served things God created instead of the Creator Himself, who's worthy of eternal praise. And so that's kind of what you're seeing now, is you're seeing more and more of the world doing things that are vile and awful. And my first thought was that that what you're seeing now is something that years from now it will become an acceptable behavior. And one of the reasons why I can say that is because this is not new. Mm-hmm. Okay, God, you see this you see it in the Bible. In the Bible times, they actually had child sacrifices. Okay, they would literally kill their children to serve their gods. And I was telling the pastor today, I said, if you might like conspiracy theories, there's already rumors out there, like in Hollywood, that there are celebrities who offer child sacrifices. They'll drink the blood of children. And it's like, and I know it's a rumor, but here's a reality that at some point this will become the truth. That what we're seeing now, and think about this too. And I think you said it the other day. Right now, we're hearing about all these racial tensions and all these, the political divide going on. But how many of us have heard recently about child abductions, about child sex trafficking? We don't hear much about that news, but it's happening all over. As a matter of fact, what was it? The other day, there was a news about a bunch of kids being rescued.
Like, there's been several here lately, and I'm so glad. I truly believe it's because there have been a few people that have been really advocating for sex trafficking, but I think it was like in Georgia, and I don't remember the other state, but they found several at a time. And again, the point is, all lives do matter, Black lives matter. I'm not even getting into that, but the point is, there are literally more children missing or dying than, Black people getting killed by cops or whatever. And this is not me trying to say that any of that is okay. But the point is that, we're focusing on one issue when our children are disappearing out from underneath us. Yeah. And to me, that is scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny is that the people with the biggest voices, the celebrities, the ones who could make a difference, are the ones who are being extremely quiet about it. And again, I'm not. I love conspiracy theories. Okay, I do. They're always interesting, but I have to be careful not to dive into it or condone it. I don't know the truth. I don't know. It's just I do find it interesting that we have more people wanting to voice some crazy notions. I mean, I'm gonna put it out there. I watched an interview with LeBron James where he said that police officers get up in the morning thinking, "I wonder if I got to kill a Black person today." And growing up with a police officer as a dad, that is not true. But yet, when you don't hear him ever say, we need to do more to help stop the trafficking of kids into these awful lives of prostitution as kids. And but you're seeing it more and more. It's a cycle. It's a cycle that we go through. What's going to happen at some point, if God doesn't return and just purge the whole world, at some point, another group of people are going to rise up and they're going to say no more and stop. And either we have to civil war, break, leave this country, find another place. I don't know, but at some point, but even then, sin will creep in. And I guess I'll end with this. My thoughts on all this, again, it'll be celebrated. It is something that is quietly happening. Satan works in subtlety. The Bible says that he'll appear as an angel of light. I always tell youth, you guys know, you hear from me, that the devil will never show up with, horns and fangs and claws and a pitchfork and fire going, "Follow me." He'll show up something that seems quite innocent, quite harmless. What's the harm in this? And he will slowly entice you more and more and more until you don't realize that you are way over your head involved, and that happens in the world. America was founded on some beliefs of God created man to be, all men are equal, and we are to live with a religious mindset. But sin will creep its way in, and before you know it, you've got movies
Yeah.
like this coming out, and there are people celebrating it. This is artsy. This is reality. Two things can be true at once. That movie is an awful, horrific movie, but the movie is also right in the sense of it is something that our teens are learning.
Mm-hmm.
Parents, watch what your kids are doing. Keep an eye on them, because there are tons of apps, free apps. They don't have to buy anything, and they can sit there and watch girls barely dressed in anything dancing around, and they're being told, these especially girls are being told, if you want to be liked, if you want to be approved by society, this is what you have to do. So that is true, but you don't have to make a horrific movie to get that point across. Okay, so kids, students, you are beautifully and wonderfully, the Bible even says fearfully made. You are the image of God. And so you don't have to parade around and barely anything. You don't have to show off anything. That stuff is saved for your spouse. Girls, that is saved for your husband. Boys, that is stuff saved for your wife. And until that time comes where you are ready and you are ready to be married, then you can enjoy those intimacies and be liked by that one special person.
Right.
And that's all you need. Okay. When we first started this YouTube video, I had to be very careful not to want to try to get 1,000 views and stuff like that. And I could put some awful stuff on here to get more people to like my videos, but it takes away from what God's trying to do. And if all I get is 8 people watching this and saying, "Hey, we enjoyed it," but I get the point of what God's message is, it's worth it. So that's my thought on it. That's my view on it. I could go so much more in so many different directions.
Keep on going and on and on and on.
I can make this a really long video. I just ultimately we want to just take a moment and say, guys, be careful. Keep your eyes focused on God. Okay, and do what He called you. Modesty is something that God desires for us to be and have. We are to be modest. It doesn't mean that we have to wear sackcloth and cover ourselves from head to toe. But it also means that, there are things saved for marriage, and let's keep it that way. And that's all I got. So anything else?
I'm good.
Nope. All right. Well, guys, thank y'all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button. Also hit that bell icon. That way, when we post our next video, you'll be notified and you won't miss out. So my name is Jason.
And I'm Kayla.
And this is Hold the Mayo.